Oh, hello, greetings, good morning, what's up? How you guys all doing? My name is Michael, I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer, and welcome. Malik Hissel just lurking, about to start a game. Worst timing ever. I'm so sorry. I'll give me a second. I'll reschedule the stream just for you. No. Have a wonderful game of Vast Grim. I hope you have I hope your group is suitably filled with misery and whims of the horrible and awful worms that infest your campaigns, which of course is the spirit of the game. So yes, have fun, have an amazing time. It's so good to see so many of you. I see Kethra and Lance, McBluff, Myth. I see all of you guys. Hi. Desmay in chat as well. What's up? As well as Kethra Moonsea. What's up? What's up, guys? And Mr. Fluffy Pants, thank you so much for the follow. Now, guys, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Michael. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. And today we are going to be doing some world building. Hey, thick paste. Thank you so much. Oh, thick pastel, sorry. I thought that was an exclamation mark. Thick pastels. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for the follow. Fun fact: no matter how much you push the envelope, it's still stationary. Ha! Oh, Mr. Fluffy Pants, you and I are gonna get along swimmingly. Okay, so yeah. No. If you ever get a chance to go check out World Anvil, Janet from World Anvil also appreciates a good pun. Or should I say a good pen? Anyway. Myth, thank you so much for the bits. Now, what are we doing today? We are doing we're world building my homebrew setting of Aulestria. I've been working on this campaign, I've been working on this setting on and off for I want to say 8 years. But I've reached a conundrum. In my world building, and so we're here today to try and maybe chew and work through some of it. So much so that the very essence of what I'm making, I'm going to add a new folder here on Scrivener, which you can see behind me. This is the program I use to sort my ideas and thoughts, called, we're going to call it Original Draft Backup. So I'm actually changing so many of the ideas that I'm actually creating a folder that I can keep those original ideas in, right? So here's let me muse if I may. My thoughts here is that when I create a campaign setting, I want somewhere that's going to be full of life, it's going to be vibrant. I want my campaign setting to reflect my own style, right? And what I found myself thinking is, am I writing my campaign setting the way that everyone expects a Forgotten Realms D&D campaign to be? Or am I, actually reflecting something that I'd like? So little things like how many gods do we need in a campaign setting, right? Like traditionally it's 20 gods, because every god has 4 domains and each of those domains are important and yada 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 yada. And I'm like, well, okay, that kind of makes sense, and I feel like a lot of what I did was based off that. And now when I'm looking at this setting, when I was getting ready to introduce people to my setting for the show Sirens and Silver, which we're running with Janet, actually, now that we bring that up, I sat there and I thought to myself, wow, I have just tons of stuff. And at what point does it go from being I'm really excited about this setting to, oh my god, I'm so sorry, you have to chew on just so much information. So yeah, it got me thinking about that. So for example, I was like, well, who said there had to be 100 gods, right? Why couldn't there be, let's say, 9 greater gods, each representing one of the major alignments, but not necessarily saying that I'm going to introduce alignments into my campaign setting. Obviously it has to be a feature of it, but, why can't we just use 9? What's wrong with 9, right? Because, there are, Forgotten Realms, praise the 9, or thank the 9, or, God the 9, buy the 9, these are common phrases that are used to describe the 9 greater gods. So, instead of having the 20-odd gods that I have, which, let's just take a look at my gods right now. So, I've got No, that's not it. Gods and Magic. Gods and Faith. Here we go. So, My major gods are Reynova, goddess of the sun, Landau, god of the night. Sorry, let me go there. So it's Reynova, god of the sun, Landau, god of the night, Eraldin and Eraldi, they're twin gods, or they're a non-binary god of knowledge and magic. Gidnera, god of nature, the Tarask, who is of course our destruction god, Azalea, who is god of life, Nibiru, which is god of death, Bastille, who is god of war, Ronak, who is god of protection and the guardian of Bastille, Oberon, who is the god of mischief, Volum, who is the god of innovation, and Sephiria, the god of nobility, and Atrax, the god of evil. So I've got literally these gods, which are, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I've got 14 gods. So my first question is, is that too many? Is it too much, right, information to have a pantheon of 14 gods? I think that's my first question, because this is the base, right? The base is like the gods and the creations and stuff like that. Like, you can have infinite lesser gods, but the main ones are the ones that you really want to kind of, like, they're your bread and butter for your setting. Hey, Mudhole, what is up? Hope you're having an awesome holiday season. I'm not going to lie, my holiday season doesn't really start till next week. And even then, not quite. So I'm not going to be streaming for the 2 weeks at the end as of the end of this week for the holidays. We will be back the first week of the year. But more importantly, what was I saying? The school programs that I run out of my local youth center become day-long games, so I have more stuff to do. But it should be fine. It should be nice to spend some time with family and do things. I hope that you are having an awesome holiday season as well. Setting is best when the creator prefers. It should be reflective of their wishes of the world. Yeah. Currently creating my own pantheon, so I'm very curious. Yeah, so look, I don't know how I fit about 14. You know what I mean? Like, I think 14 might be like maybe one too many, or maybe like I said, I like 9, I like 12. I mean, is 14 a good number? I mean, that's my big question is, do you guys think 14 is a good number? Let's do a poll. That's the easiest way. 14, let's not ask everyone individually. Let's go with a poll. Okay. Pantheon number. Greater God number. Okay. Let's go with 6. No, let's go with less than 9. 9 to 12. 12 to 14. 13 to... Actually, let's go with 13 to 15. Yeah, 13 to 15. Let's go 16 to 20. And let's go with 21 plus. Okay, there we go. 2-minute poll. It's up there. Let's go. McKinley, let's see. I had a small question. I couldn't remember last year what you told us about the gods, why they're all tied to their domains. Was it because they were created restricted to the domains, or did they decide upon the domains, giving up their general level of influence over the world to have a greater deal of influence over their chosen domain? Good question. So in my world, there are the original gods, and then there are the risen. The original gods were created for the purpose of overseeing their domain. Now, this doesn't necessarily make them greater gods. It just makes them... it's just that part of their creation is tied inherently to that of a core element of the world, of the universe. So, for example, Reynova and Landau are day and night gods, and they were created at the same time that day and night was created, so they're inherently tied to it. Whereas Volum, Sephiria, Oberon, and Ronak, these are all societal creations, right? So when war first started becoming a thing, somebody a mortal who was very good at war was basically risen to the rank of having that domain. It's like basically they were given a choice: will you ascend to the likes of godhood? And of course, Bastille, who was the first of not the first person to declare war, should I say, but like He was one of the greats. He's my version of Guan Yu from the Three Kingdoms romance. He was renowned as the god of war. His presence on the battlefield was worth that of 1,000 men or women. The point of that is, you have the gods whose domains then became bigger, the gods who kind of, sort of sat around and were like, oh yeah, I'm the god of the harvest. Really people only worship me, like farmers and stuff like that. He's still got power, but he's not like, I am the god of fire. Yes, fire is my domain. Okay, so I think everyone says that there should be less than 9, and like I said, I am inclined to agree. And I'm only talking about the major gods. Like, these are the major gods. So 9 or less. Okay. All right. So if we're gonna go with 9 or less, I think what we need to do is we need to revisit the history, and we need to add the gods as we need them. So let's start by moving our major god file from here into the draft. Okay, so there we go. We've got our major gods. Now, keeping in mind, everything's going to get saved. I'm not going to delete anything because I've worked hard on them. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? We have a Wild Thomas in the chat. Hi, Tom. How you doing? Forgeling is a wonderful streamer, an incredible costume and LARP designer of materials and the like, and is a very, very valuable member of the One For All team. Those of you who haven't checked it out, please go check out One For All and the Forgelings Twitch channel if you want to see some pretty cool, fun, and amazing things there. All right. What we're doing today, Tom, is we are we're revisiting our previous story for the history of my world, and we're trying to kind of cut down on the gods, basically. We're trying to cut down on what we consider to be greater gods in my world, and we're going to try and find 9 greater gods. So I think, okay, well, another question, I guess, for the audience is, if I'm going to go with 9, should I go with the alignment system? Should I have a lawful god, a lawful neutral, yada, yada, yada? Should I do that, or should I not? The shoutout command is that. There you go. Boom. Shout out. Just the shop sending a lot of hope. Aw, thanks, man. So cool. Hey, Grizz, what's up? What's up, dude? What's that? Is this a sleep? Sleep. Yeah, nice. All right. So, yeah, should we have the alignments play a part of this? So there would be lawful good, lawful neutral, lawful evil, neutral good, true neutral, neutral evil, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic evil. I don't think the alignment system is for the best. Okay, so here's the catch, Grizz. I agree. But because we're working on a campaign setting, not a rule system, we do have to acknowledge and at least have wiggle room for someone who wants to use the system and has alignment as a part of that system to be able to interact with it. I do agree. I think alignment is silly. I don't like the idea of a paladin or something using true neutral and going, yeah, that guy's a bad guy. Yeah, we don't know what crime he's done, but he's definitely done something. He's don't trust that guy. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that idea. But yes, we're acknowledging weaknesses, but moving through and moving into it. Any other thoughts? Myth has said yes, it's probably a good idea. All right, let's start with the history and let's see where it leads up, shall we? I feel like that's probably the better idea. So, let's start with that one. Never heard of a redneck paladin before. Oh man, redneck paladins. All right, so let's make this nice and easy for Michael to be able to read. Come on, you. Thank you. All right, so here we go. So we're gonna read the history as I have it, and I've read this before, and I do apologize. There, like I said, we're gonna read it, and we're gonna add stuff as we go. So, in my world, one of the things, and I'm actually gonna put this down. What are we calling this? The God. We're gonna call him the eldest. The eldest. Yes. No alignment. Representation of the GM. So basically, in my campaign setting, the GM, whoever they happen to be, is the eldest. That is the nature of it. They are the one who creates on a whim, etc., etc., etc. That is the nature of it. Oh, and while I remember, let's take the template that we've been using, and let's add that here. That way we've got the template. So, God of all, the unspoken, the all mother, all father, domains, everything, unknown, personality as the game master, relationship, what do we call him? The eldest plays the role of an omnipresent storyteller that shapes the world as they move and guide others through it. The representation of the people and places in the realm is always given by the words spoken by the eldest. Churches. There are no known churches to the eldest, but some madmen believe that there is something beyond the veil of the pantheon. Worshippers. There are no known worshippers. There you go. There are no known worshippers. Hey, Odd Bandicoot. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting. I see you there. I see you. I acknowledge you. There are no worshippers of the eldest. There we go. Yeah, just leave it there. History. So we don't need a history there. That's just fine. Worshippers. We don't need that. Cool. Done. There you go. So we have a rough template of what we need. So again, the eldest is going to be in this story that we're about to go on to is a representation of you as a GM in my setting. We'll get into that in a bit more detail, but I think for now, I think that is enough for that. No alignment, representation of the GM, unknown, unworshipped, all powerful. There we go. Going in. Done. Odd Bandicoot, how are you today? Tonight? How are you today, everyone? I'm good. I am revising some of the core elements to my campaign setting. as I have been trying to, I guess I've been trying to put myself aside and figure out if what I've been writing is what I want, or simply me writing what I have is just me writing what's expected of like a D&D campaign setting. So for me, like, I had 14 gods, and I'm like, do I need 14 gods? And I'm like, everyone's got like these really fancy, cool names, like, you know, Landau and Reynova and all that. Is that what I want, or do I want to change up the names? You know, like lots of little things there. So yeah. All right, let's go into the history. Here we go. So, at the beginning of creation, there was an endless void, simply referred to as the abyss. So, history of creation. Yes. So let's actually, you know what? This should probably be in the history. Let's go with dot points. So, in the beginning, there was the abyss. An endless darkness from which creatures beyond age lurked in the shadows, lurked in the dark, devouring all as a nameless swarm. All right. That is when the eldest grew tired of the endless nothing and birthed creation, building the cosmos with the birth, with the use their vast power of creation to birth the cosmos, starting with now, traditionally in my story, he starts with the cosmos and then begins with night and day, or the sun and the moon, right? Well, no, day and night. Day and night is really light and dark is the first elements that get created. So here's, I guess, the question. Light and dark have always traditionally in my mind have always been like against each other. It's like light is evil and light is good and dark is evil and blah 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 blah. I don't like that idea. I want to change that, and the way I did in the first edition was I had Reynova and Landau. Their relationship was actually that of very caring lovers who chased each other across the stars. That's kind of the nature of it. So I kind of still want to hold on to that idea that, you know, the day and night, or the sun and moon and light and dark aren't against each other. It's not a conflict. And the other half of it is that, do I need two gods for that, or should I have a single god who is, well, for want of a better word, who is trans, who changes their form from day to night, you know? What do you guys think in terms of that? What do you feel for these ideas? Do you think the idea of the two lovers? Do you think the idea of like having a single god here? What do you guys feel? I like the idea of the moon being a protector and guide of the night. That's a good one. Keeping well. Glad to be able to catch some of the stream. Wasn't sure if Dag was streaming tonight. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to catch you as well, Bandicoot. I've been watching some of Quincy's Harry Potter readings while I've been doing some work in the background. Yeah, man. Oh, and just between us, I'm trying to get Quincy onto a regular non-broadcast game. That I think we're gonna record it, and I think we're gonna put it on Patreon. But it's a private game that we're doing like just for like our own, like, hey, we're gonna play and have a bit of fun and just like not stress out about like productions and things like that. So hopefully if schedules and stuff go through. So yeah. I personally view light and dark in a Taoist manner, yin and yang, two parts of a whole. Kind of like Final Fantasy trope, with too much light being bad, along with the cultural mythology of the stories. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Too much of anything is gonna be bad. Hey, what's up, DM Stretch? What's up? Is this the world you're creating recipes for? Yes, this is. This is that. I'm just kind of revisiting it because here's the thing: I don't wanna read my own setting and be like, wow, that is a lot of stuff. You know, that is a lot of stuff. Let's do a vote. God of Light and Dark. Brother, sister. Two lovers. And now if I go with the two lovers, I'm going to say that I'm going to go with a male and female, mostly because there's representation of, like, other genders and things in my setting, and it doesn't have to be here. So a trans person, someone who has a light and a dark side, or even a split personality. Split persona. So they're independent of one another, but they're talking about the same person. Maybe, what was the other one? Let's go with... No, I think that's fine. All right, there we go. Poll is up. What are we voting for? I think my favorite is the two lovers because I think the two lovers offers a nice relationship dynamic between the churches. You know, like if there are churches of the god of sun and getting along with the church of the god of the moon, I think there's a lot to be said about that. And we could also look at things like, you know, werewolves and lycanthropy not necessarily being seen as, like, always evil, right? Like, sure, they worship the god of the moon, but the people from the Church of the Sun aren't necessarily trying to kill werewolves. They're trying to, help them. They're trying to make the world a better place for them because they're the children of the person their god loves, you know. So that could be a few cool things there with the idea of romance and love. All right, so it looks like two lovers are definitely streaming up here. So, all right, so let's look at that. Hey, what's up, Odd Heart Studio? We are just we're actually doing something kind of interesting. We are going to the ground level and, like, rebuilding and retuning some stuff from my campaign setting. Mostly because, you know, it's stuff that that's been inherited over a few years. And I'm just kind of going over a few core concepts and seeing, hey, is this what I want to do? Okay, so if we're going with the gods of light and dark, right? The god of the sun, the god of the moon, etc. We need to know exactly what alignment we're going to fit into, as that's kind of the core basis of why we chose 9. So I don't want good and evil to be a part of it. So I think I feel like they are diametrically opposed. So lawful neutral and chaotic neutral, I'm kind of more feeling than anything else. So if we look at lawful neutral as god of light, a goddess of light, and then the god of the moon, god of night. Okay. So if we got the god of day and god of night as the chaotic, neutral, and lawful, why do we have chaotic for the night? I think chaotic for the night is, like, because of the nature of, like, the darkness and not knowing what's there and what's lurking within. I think that kind of fits in a very, very nice kind of way. So yeah, I think that kind of works. Going back to our notes here, our major gods, Reynova. So Reynova, goddess of the sun, light, herald of the cosmic flame. Domains are sun, fire, light, maybe something else. Alignment, we had her as neutral, so we're going to go with lawful neutral. Favored weapon is the Morning Star. I mean, that's kind of on the nose, but maybe I'll change that. Not, that's just so obvious. I mean, I feel it should be something else. Personality, whimsical and flighty. Maybe let's change that up a bit. Let's go with passionate. Motherly. And maybe just. Yeah. Passionate, motherly, and just. Relationship. In love with Landau, but quickly forgets no. In love with Landau, and considers herself the matriarch to the gods in the absence of the eldest. She cares deeply for each of the pantheon and wishes for the mortal races to govern themselves freely but to govern themselves properly. Yeah, because that's kind of the thing. It could be that the reason why Reynova is lawful, it's like, this is the proper way to build up your society. This is the proper way to build churches and temples, etc., etc., etc. So that might be why Reynova is venerated in cities and towns and stuff like that. Whereas in caves, they're kind of worshipping the sun, worshipping fire. And then, Reynova is kind of guiding them from, like sort of the light of innovation, as it were. Prometheus fire. That's kind of what we're kind of inspiring here. Worshippers, traditionally good clerics, with offshoots inquisitors, and that's who like to purge evil. Yeah. That's a cool thing. All right, cool. Artists, yeah. Okay, so I think this is fine. We can copy that and put that back in our major gods section. God of the day. We're gonna call this Reynova. Do we like that name? Do you guys... Okay, sorry, let me rephrase. I'm not looking for a name. I want to know if the name sounds good. Does the name sound good to you guys? Reynova. Hippie clerics. Yeah, yeah, I added hippie clerics. Goddess of light. Sun, fire, justice. I like that. Yeah, neutral. That's fine. As long as as long as there's no like outright like, oh man, I hate that name. Oh, it's a terrible sounding name. All right. Next up is Landau. Oh, did I change that? I did. I shouldn't change these ones. I'll leave that one changed, but I'm going to copy and paste these before I change them next time. Just that way I've got the backup of what they used to be. All right. So this is Landau. God of the night, rider of the lunar chariot, god of darkness, travel, stars, and let's go with let's go, instead of stars, let's go travel, the night, and lovers, maybe love, god of love, and he is chaotic neutral. Crescent moon spear, yeah, I love that. Relationship, personality, a beautiful man with hair like stardust. He is aware. His demeanor is calm and peaceful, but he values freedom above all else, encouraging others, encouraging his fellow gods and mortals alike to cast their passion into the world and explore the gift of the eldest. He's in love with Reynova and rides the lunar chariot to try and meet with her during an eclipse. They get to meet for a moment of passion. I love that. He acts as a father-like figure to most of the gods, with the exception of Iraldi. Churches, planetariums, and moving observatories like a caravan. Yes, I love that. Worshippers, traveling folks, sales folks, etc., etc., etc. Planetariums. What do we call them? What do you call those churches that kind of move from place to place? Let me know. Let me know if you know what they are. You know, like they used to be traveling like priests who used to set up tents and stuff. It's mostly in America. I haven't seen them here, but I know what they are. Kethra, I like Reynova. Thank you. Desmay, neutral. I feel. Been lurking. How many gods did chat decide upon? We've gotten 2. We're working on the second. So we've got Reynova and Landau. Ray has a cool definition in Japanese. Yeah, it does. Do they have meanings for me? I think Nova for me has a meaning, because Nova means renewed or to be new, and that was kind of like the importance of light to me. Landau, I feel like it just, I wanted something that sounded drastically different to Reynova. So Reynova has that kind of like almost Latin kind of thing, and Landau almost has more of an Eastern European kind of roll off the tongue. So that was what I used for that name decision. But I will be asking people what they think of Landau. Let's see. I kind of wanted to throw things how the gods that seem kind of I wanted to kind of throw things like that they are the gods that seem completely unrelated, like fishing. If you can clarify that a little bit, Grizz, we can explore that. Hey, Avarian, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you in chat. Sorry, I'm just playing catch up. Both Ray and Ray have different but cool meanings. I have to check that out. They tend to be called tent shows. Evangelist, yes, evangelist churches. Evangelist caravans. Evangelist caravans. Yes. So the temples tend to be planetariums or observatories, as well as traveling evangelists who would go from place to place. Because again, freedom, the movement, the travel, that's all a major thing. Congregation, yeah. Yes, yeah, congregation. I think that's the flocking thing. But yeah, that's cool. That's perfect. Itinerant church? Maybe. All right. Yada. All right, cool. So I like that. That's cool. So we have Landau. So do we like the name Landau? Chaotic neutral, god of darkness, night, love, and what else do we say? Travel. There you go. Clarification, a god is the god of so many things, then there is also one that seems unrelated, like fishing, for example. So, like, would there be a god of the ocean, but then a god specifically of fishing? Is that what you're asking? That are unrelated? Let me know. Let me know. Okay. Cool. While we're waiting for that, so god of light and dark were the first to be created. So let's go back to our history as where we're making it, starting with Reynova and Landau, the gods of light and dark. The two became the first of the great pantheon. I wish there was another name for that, like, you know how there was like the Olympiae or something, you know what I mean? Like something big, something, you know, something as inspiring, you know, the first of the Olympiad or the first of the Floschmachenvarg or whatever, I don't know, some sort of name. Name of pantheon. All right. Became the first of the pantheon. All right, cool. So, the eldest looked at his children with love. Looked at their children. Got to keep that proper pronoun. Looked at their children with love and wished upon them the gift of wisdom, knowledge, and magic. Into their care, they created Iraldin Iraldi, the god of magic, knowledge, and time, who would record all to be known in the cosmos and would be able to give portions of the eldest's power to those who were deemed worthy by his children. All right. So at this point, the eldest basically turns around and says, all right, I have the god of these things. That's cool. That's really nice. But I don't want to, you know, I want them to be looked after. You know, I care about them. I love them. So here, I'm going to bring magic into this universe, as well as knowledge, wisdom, and time. And I'm going to put it here for you. And I don't want to just give infinite power to everyone. So I'm going to give not the power, but the ability to distribute that power to my next creation. So I think that's where I'm looking at for the next one. So if I were to look at the major gods, I would say that would be the true neutral one, Iraldin and Iraldi. Iraldin and Iraldi. Yes. All right. Who's making me hungry? No. Like, one god is the god of several different things, but one thing that they are a god of seems unrelated. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think all the gods should be... it should be stuff that makes the god, if that makes sense. Like, for example, I know that there's obviously a divine purpose behind the god of light being, of course, the god of light. But she then also has justice under the domain, and it's relevant not to light specifically, but to the fact that Reynova is prone to looking after, you know, what is just and what is fair. Landau is prone to travel and love because he believes so strongly in that passion and in that love as well that he pursues it in just a different way. Where Reynova would sort of create a holiday and say, this is the day we will celebrate love. Landau would be more about like surprising your lover with with a gift or with something like that. So it's just two different aspects of what I consider to be a caring and loving relationship that then sort of trickles down into, well, if you're talking about gods, then this is their nature. One's God's nature is lawful, one's God nature is chaotic. Both can coincide to make a very, very strong and good relationship. So that was the nature of it. That's the nature of that, at least. Had some well-seasoned baked chicken. Ooh, that does sound tasty. Didn't have any broccoli on the side like usual. If you ever get a chance to, freshly grilled broccolini with some chili and paprika is amazing. Made some pork chops for dinner. Not really hungry. Pork chops are good. A nice secret with pork chops, if you get a chance to, is if you ever get the chance to get some fried chicken skins. Like I usually keep like some, like if I ever have to like make chicken breast, I'll actually peel off the skin, season it, and then bake it, and then bake it, then fry it, then fry it, then bake it, then fry it again, and they sort of turn into these like little crisps. Is then grate the fried chicken skins onto some pork chops. Adds a nice little crunchy texture, which is absolutely fire. Janasi, hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Had chicken chili. Chicken chili. Toasty marshmallows with chocolate sound delicious. They do sound delicious. All right. All right. Lurk, and be safe. Odd Bandicoot. Hopefully we'll see you soon. Roasted trout, potato cauliflower. So you guys started talking about food. All right, fair enough. Yeah, it is delicious. Very delicious. Had an apple pie with a mountain of whipped cream for dinner. Nice. I like being an adult too. I have so I'm gonna have cornflakes for dinner because I can. Ha 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 ha. Prepping a beef bourguignon for tomorrow and an enchilada Sousa for Thursday. Nice. Oh, that sounds amazing. Beef bourguignon is so hard to make. It takes so much time. Not Reaganomics, Reaganthology. Good lord. Okay, cool. I've caught up with chat. Yay, Dag. Have you ever had mooncake? Of course I have mooncake. I'm sorry. No, that was rude. So for those of you who don't know, I was actually born in Singapore, and mooncakes are very traditionally a New Year's celebration thing for Singaporeans. I don't do it. I did it when I lived there for like a couple of years. But and I know that my family does it as well. Like whenever they have New Year's, they have the mooncakes. It's really good. Chicken chicharrones. Come back and start the food discussion. All right, what's a mooncake? It's a very sweet, it's kind of very, very sweet cake. I really wish I had a better way to describe it than say it tastes Asian. But it's like got this. So Asians tend to use a lot of like sugar cane in a lot of their sweets and confections, as opposed to like caster sugar or processed sugar, and it has a very particular taste to it that is very, very unique. If you ever have a chance to try some, it's called pandang. I don't like it, but it's a cool thing. It's very tasty. They're trying to prank me with food. Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's get back to gods, shall we? Food is delicious. Yes, we know this. And I know that most of you are trying to get revenge for all of my food porny antics in streams and stuff like that. But you'll never break me. You'll never break me. All right. So Iraldin and Oraldi. Let's go back here, shall we? There we go. Let's paste that. Okay. So, Iraldin Oraldi, god of magic, knowledge, and keeper of the Aegis Eternal. Magic, knowledge, time, and wisdom. Alignment is true neutral. Favored weapon. I don't like a longsword. Personality. Most on the surface, They seem to be rather moody and delve deep into their studies and cosmic duty. Most would say that they are abrasive and have a disdain for others. But given time and familiarity, this is only because Iraldi struggle with connections, often relying on Reynova or Landau to speak on their behalf, so as to not come across too curt. Yeah, I like the idea of Iraldin and Iraldi being like this really curt kind of character. Hey, welcome back. Yeah, like, you know, I'm the god of knowledge and time and wisdom. If I fail at my duties, then reality will unravel. You know, he's very curt, so it's like, you know, something bad has happened. He won't necessarily go and tell the Pantheon. He'll tell Reynova and Landau, and then they'll tell the Pantheon following. So we're going to move that idea there. So, relationships. Very close to Reynova and Landau, but everyone else is kept at an arm's length. Many seek to usurp power they do not deserve or understand, and Iraldi sees it as their cosmic duty to safeguard the eldest's last gift. Alright, churches, libraries, mages' towers, worshippers, mages, warlocks, artificers, etc., etc., etc. Yep, that's kind of cool. History and androgynous god. There are two gods existing in the same timeline, and they share one form. Oh, that's a cool idea. I like that. Good job, previous Michael. Done. Alright. So let us continue this history look. So, the Abyss and the Age of Demons. Ended both the cosmos. Okay. Now, while light and dark existed, the Abyss and its monsters still posed. No, hang on. Let's backtrack a bit. Let's try to backtrack about it. All right. With the birth of the eldest's children, the birth of the Pantheon. Yes. I don't want to start going with the whole children thing, because I feel like that makes the whole Reynova Landau relationship a bit weirder. With the birth of the Pantheon, the creatures from the Abyss sought to stop the eldest and kill the new founded gods in order to keep them at bay. The eldest created the cosmic planes. Fire, water, earth, air, Fire, water, earth, air. I feel like that's it, right? Mooncakes do look delicious. Don't say I won't break you. You'll break me. No, but see, that's the secret. I'm always hungry. Long ago, the four nations lived in harmony. Yes, yes. So, so this bit of the story, I guess, is the eldest has created the deities of light, dark, knowledge, wisdom, etc., etc., etc. But now the creatures of the abyss, the things that lurked in the dark between the spaces of the stars, was now like, hey, we don't like this. We're going to kill all them. And so in order to keep them at bay, he creates these planes of existence. And uniting their power is the material plane. Is what would become the material plane. The creation of the planes forced the swarming masses back to the edges of the cosmos. And protected what the elders had created, at least for the time being. Okay, so in this moment, fire, earth, etc., 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 when these things were created, now in my original story, the next thing that was created was Gidnera, the god of nature. Now, the god of nature for me was always the god of elemental nature. So this is the any element that you can think of that is their nature. So I guess here, Gidnera, god of nature, would be neutral good, according to this. Gidnera. So let's have a look. What did I write down for Gidnera? Gidnera, goddess of nature and warden of the 12 titans. Earth, air, fire, water domains. Earth, air, fire, water, weather. Alignment, chaotic, neutral. Favored weapon, a calligraphy brush. She's artistic, compassionate, slightly delusional. Relationships, she scorns Azalea because of her favorite titan's sudden death. I don't know what that meant. I didn't like Azalea as a name, but let's change that relationship and we'll come back to it later. Churches, enclave of artists, druid glades, etc., etc., etc. Druids, artists, genies, elementals. Okay, so the original story from the history was that at this point when the planes were created, so too was Gidnera, and Gidnera had on each of these planes the elementals, which became known as the Titans. The Titans are, you know how like when you've got genies who are like blooded based on the elements, like, you know, like you've got the Jinn who are wind and the Afriti who are fire, etc. These would be the children of the Titans, as it were. So it's kind of like a trickle-down effect. The eldest made the planes created Gidnera. Gidnera then birthed the Titans in order to look after these planes. The Titans then gave birth to the elemental creatures that you would then find there, or at least their essence or their power birthed these creatures. Is that too complicated? This is like, I think, the start of that. This just sounds really messy. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Does it seem messy? Does it seem to make sense? Should I drawing board it? What do you guys reckon? Oh. Oh, that was a big one. Okay. What do we feel? Feels like Greek mythology. Messy, but makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, but see, do I want that? Ideally, I want my stuff to be super simple. So what if... All right, what if we change the idea? What if instead of... Because who said we need to have elemental planes, right? Like, who says that has to be my cosmology? What if... What if Aulestria was the name of the material plane? What if Aulestria was the name of the material plane, and Aulestria was the name of the god who controls the elements within that plane? How does that sound? What do you think of that? How does that sit with you guys? Does that sound feasible? The god Aulestria, who is the embodiment of the material plane, who controls all the elements within it. How does that track? Has it been 2 hours already? Jesus. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. It's been an hour, Michael. Sorry. It's just yeah, the time skipped away from me. Okay. So, how do I introduce the elements? Let's go with... Do I like the elemental planes? I like the idea of being able to travel places. Do I want a god to control all the elements? I mean, I think that could be a thing. The elemental planes could be on a single plane. They all exist on the same plane at the same time, but in different dimensions. You travel there with a chance to randomly find yourself. That is a cool idea. What if the elemental planes... What if the elemental planes were... Sounds fine, but where do the other gods fit in the material plane? No, that's true. Okay, so I think this plane has to be the material plane. That's a good point. So if this plane is the material plane, I mean, there'd have to be other dimensions. So what if... All right, what if we went with... Okay. Okay. The swarming masses of the abyss were unhappy with the arrival of the Pantheon and began and sought their destruction. This rampage and destructive force began to manifest as creatures made of fire, made of elemental forces, known as the Titans. The eldest used a great portion of his power to invoke a goddess capable of taming the Titans. This would be the goddess of nature, Gidnera. So it's like kind of almost like a Pied Piper vibe. So we had the Abyss, the birth of the Pantheon. The war. The rise of the Titans. Gidnera was a warrior woman, and over the course of what would be a century of battle, the Titans were tamed and slumbered in prisons of their own making that would be later referred to as the elemental planes. So, okay, that kind of sounds cool. Okay, so here's what happened. Pantheon was created. The abyssal creatures basically turned around and said, we don't want this. So they started to rampage. Now, almost like Flint hitting and sparking a chain reaction, the Titans were born because the abyssal creatures have no physical form. So they needed physical forms for their rage, their anguish, and all of this sort of stuff, and that's what the Titans were. As the Titans posed a real threat to the Pantheon, the eldest said, no worries. And he created Gidnera. Gidnera's job, and this isn't necessarily like Gidnera was given power to do so, right? I mean, Iraldi technically would have given Gidnera like a weapon or power or something like that. Gidnera then basically turned to battle and to war against the Titans, the massive elemental forces. And after a century of battle, managed to get them all down. Not kill them, but tame them, lull them to sleep, put them into a point where they were so exhausted they couldn't do anything but lie down. Then created a prison of their own making. So basically, to break out of the fire prison, the fire elemental or the fire titan has to wake up and then break itself free using fire, which it can't because it's immune to fire. Same thing with the water element, the yada 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 yada. So I think that's a really cool way of having it. Like, these are the slumbering titans, as it were. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Does that sound all right? Does it sound interesting? Chaotic neutral. Is that what we said she was? Did we say she was chaotic neutral? No, we didn't. Okay, so Iral, so Gidnera is neutral good. Neutral good. Weapon. Of elemental power. Okay, so here's the question. No, that's okay. It's a very long-winded question. What do we think of the following story? Is this a good story for my god of nature? After the eldest created the Pantheon, the creatures of the abyss, the spaces between the stars, started to rampage, and in their rampage created the Titans. 12 Titans, which were basically elemental powers embodied in the form of like demigod-like creatures. Fire, air, water, earth, steel, ice, mud, lava, all the stuff, right? and it collided and crashed into the universe and the cosmos that was created by the Eldest. Now, the Eldest needed to get these Titans in control. And the God of Light and Dark, while they were fighting and were able to do stuff, weren't necessarily able to win on their own. Same thing with even the God of Knowledge and Wisdom. In fact, if I were to hazard that scenario in my head, I would imagine that Iraldin and Iraldi are the ones who put this idea in the Eldest head that they need someone to be able to manage and tame the Titans. So the Eldest created Gidnera. Gidnera was a warrior, and I love the idea that in the beginning she was like this badass Amazoness, but nowadays she's considered to be like kind of Mother Nature, very kind, full of life, and nature is like sweet and gentle. But like, again, back in the day, bloody fucking Valkyrie helmet, big wings, spear and stuff, right? So she battled with the Titans, and eventually the Titans yielded. They succumbed. So she created a barrier, I guess, around each of them, keeping them in a permanent stasis. And these barriers became the elemental planes. And that's where the origins of the elemental planes came from in my world. Now, the only person who can wield the elemental powers now is Gidnera, because she's the one who set up the barriers. So she can siphon fire and earth and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. But what do we think of this as an idea? Do we like the idea of this is the birth of the God of Nature? Is that a cool story? Does it sound like I'm biting off more than I can chew? What do we think? Evening. Good evening, Guardian. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Welcome in. We are just doing a little bit of world building here. I am building my God of Nature. And we're kind of building up the story a little bit. Yeah, seeing if people liked the story for the God of Nature. Myth seems to like it, which is good. On the surface, the God of Nature is nurturing, compassionate, but those old enough to remember recall the days in the war against the Titans, where Gidnera managed and know that a sleeping lioness lurks always ready just below the surface. There we go. Relationships. She is beloved by most of the Pantheon and seen as a surrogate mother along and younger sister to Reynova, who is our god of light. Creative Garden. I really like the idea of goddess who changes over time, that she started as a warrior and grew into more of a protector and nurturer. Yeah, I do too. Because I love the idea that like, for me, whenever I think of the gods, it's very hard for me to view a deity in a setting that I look at for like D&D, and for them to have the history play a big part, right? Like sure, you have things like the Pathfinder one where you've got Sarenrae, where, like there was the time when they were fighting against Rovagog, and then where they are now. But there's no real overarching change in the character. They are, for the most part, a pillar of what, the religion should be. But I love the idea that, like, even the gods themselves change over time, due to need, due to the universe being what it is. But again, I wanted to kind of keep everything nice and simple. So I thought, like, having an age in my history where the Titans ran rampant, and having this warrior person eventually become like a peaceful Mother Nature type character, I think that kind of works super, super beautifully. Need to get a warm drink. I'm freezing. Be right back. No worries. Go grab a drink. I like the duality. It falls in line with some of the other legends of Mother Nature being more powerful than one realizes, but unique enough with the control of elements, literal and figuratively. Yeah. The personality of most written fantasy pantheons are very static in general. Yeah, I agree. And there's no need for it. All right. So cool. So we have Gidnera. All right. So we like Gidnera. All right. Let's continue building our history based on these notes. So the eldest used a great portion of his power to invoke a goddess capable of taming the Titans. This would become the goddess of nature. This would become Gidnera. Gidnera was a warrior woman, and over the course of what would be centuries of battle, Titans were tamed and slumbered in prisons of their making. The liberty from the plains. Okay, cool. All right, so this brings us. So we've gone from the Age of Demons, from the Abyss, which was before any of the creations, to the birth of the Pantheon, where the Pantheons showed up and they created light, darkness, and knowledge. Then the rise of the Titans, where the Titans came and battled. So, rise of the Titans, birth of the Pantheon. Age of the Abyss. All right, so the next age is the creation of Aulestria. All right. So at this point, let's see. Chaos Rampage, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Cool. During the war against the Titans, the first god to be born without the power of the eldest was created. Their name would be lost to even history itself. But this was the tragic beginning of the god of destruction. The eldest, Iraldin, Iraldi were the first to notice and adopted the god of destruction. Oh, and gave the god of destruction to Reynova and Landau, who saw the young god as an opportunity to start a family. Gidnera, wishing to lay down her weapon and be a doting aunt to the new god, asked for the eldest's blessing to create the solar system, on which would be created a safe haven for their new for life. Okay. Thus was born the world of Aulestria, which is my world. Okay. So the next thing is the fall of I will not spoil that yet, but we'll come back to that. Guardian makes notes for your own world building. Yeah, make notes. Look. I don't claim to be that great. I'm terrible at world building, but I'm trying to get better. So if you learn anything, fantastic. And if you have something to teach, let me know. So I got a bit of an odd question I've been stumped on. In a world where gods exist and have influence, the idea of atheists is laughable by definition. But what would you call a person with a school of thought that believes that gods are just powerful beings that meddle in the course of morality? Yes, I agree with Creative Garden. It is definitely something that is akin to agnostic. Very, very similar. Agnostic is where you believe that there is a higher power, but that we have no way of interpreting or understanding it. So agnostic would kind of be very, very similar. Now, here is another element to consider. Having an atheist isn't necessarily about not believing that gods exist, right? But you could have people who choose to live their life free of gods. And these could be what the new definition of the atheists could be. It could be less about like, oh, no, we know that there are gods. We just do not believe that they hold sway over our lives. So they could do things like outlaw religion. They could do things like advance medicine instead of clerical healing. They could, turn around and basically, sort of hunt down the chosen spiritual animals and messengers of particular deities and stuff like that. So it would, if you have a chance to have a read of the Pathfinder setting Rahadum, I'll spell it in chat for you. If I can spell it properly, let me go check this out. Yeah, Rahadum. I'll send the link in a second. Yeah, have a read of this. This is the Kingdom of the Kingdom of Man, where they believe in the laws of morality and that deities don't have sway over them. But yeah, that's how I think that's how I would define an atheist. An atheist wouldn't be like, it's like, I don't believe in this god, but they're literally over there, like literally there. See that guy? That guy's the god. Like he's in a body. He's right there. Yeah, so they wouldn't be that kind of thing, but they basically say it's like, yeah, no, I see that guy, and I know that guy has a lot of power, but I don't believe that guy's got all the power over me and my things here, and I'm willing to go above and beyond to prove that they do not possess that power, and that could be, again, where you look at your atheists and stuff. But yeah, no, it's a great question. Great question. All right, so. Gidera, wishing to lay a weapon down and become a doting aunt to the new god, asked for the eldest blessings to create a solar system on which they would create a new haven, and thus was born the world of Aulestria. Okay, so the Earth, all the elements, so Gidnera, using the elements, created the world for the created the world for you know, use the elements to creating the world, creating Aulestria for the god of destruction, and for a time, as he grew, his power to destroy what was being created soon drew concern from Iraldin and Iraldi. In what would be the final conversation between the Pantheon and the eldest, it was decided that the strength of this new god of destruction was needed to be kept in check. And for that, a final god was created by the last god, last of the elder gods would be created. Azalea, god of life. Okay, so that, yeah, basically at this point here, this is where the god of wisdom and knowledge turned around and went, well, this, it's great that we've got a planet that is filled with like elemental stuff that is being destroyed, but the power of the god of destruction is just growing constantly. Eventually, it'll grow big enough that Aulestria won't be enough. Then they'll have to go and eat the solar system and destroy it. And then they'll have to destroy everything there. And then potentially destroy the cosmos itself and re-release the swarm. Now, the problem is that they can't also rely on the eldest to solve all their problems either. So the eldest came up with an idea. Here is the god of life. This is the exact same amount of power that the god of destruction has. And the god of destruction destroying things, the god of life creating things, means that they'll cancel each other out, and you won't necessarily have to worry about the god of destruction destroying everything. So that was the birth of the goddess of life. So, yeah, tell me what you think of that angle, if that's something that you look at. Did I see a question before? Let me have a look. Does history have any sentience, tangibility in the world, or are such concepts simply concepts? I don't understand the question. Does history have any sentience? I mean, this is actually happening in the world. Like, I believe that this history is the true history. Whether or not the history would be recorded by the mortals is another question. I believe that this is what happened versus what they believe would happen, which I believe that the people on my world would think that, Reynova and Landau were the ones who created the universe, right? Like, they're the mother and father gods, and then from there the other gods came. That's what I think would happen. Let's see. Sorry, I'm catching up with chat. Found that in most fantasy games, gods are props to or to directly hands-on. The gods in my games are hands-on through the clerics. Gods are not simply batteries of power, but actively affect stuff. Yeah, if you ever read in the Forgotten Realms, the Time of Troubles is one of my favorite ones, where the gods were stripped of their power and thrown into the world. That was one of my favorite story arcs. I loved that era. That's like that was actually one of the big ones that drew me to Forgotten Realms. Thanks. It's for the prevalent culture of the tieflings in my world, as they're convinced that gods are pointless and they don't see anything. Okay, cool. Almost like atheists in a setting where gods are validated presence and more fate chasers. They understand that there are beings beyond their scope of power and understanding, but they do not believe that they have power to control beyond the control of people that people let them have, and thus their lives in constant search of their own path and beyond. Yeah. Let's see. If you don't see a god, it's easy not to believe in gods. I'm back with T. What did you miss? Not much. We are talking about Gidnera and a discussion on atheism in RPGs, of course. Kind of like the library in Malifaux. History would be changed through the library. Yeah, kind of like that. All right. So, I don't see any objections. So, I've just been curious because you said that you'd lost the history, and of course that's a common phrase. To make me wonder if you had personified anything in your world. All right, I see. Yeah, no. Mostly this is the actual history, and then there'll be the interpreted history as given to the mortals. All right, so Gidnera, using the power of the elements, created Aulestria for the god of destruction. who was basically destroying just stuff. Then Eraldin and Eraldi spoke to the eldest, and it was decided that the strength of the new gods needed to be kept in check, and so so he created the last of the eldest gods, which were Azalea, goddess of life. So just real quick, so the god of destruction is around, which we're gonna go with Azalea. I keep spelling it differently. Goddess of life, which we're going to take that. There we go. Chaotic good. We'll come back to that in a minute. All right, so god of life. And then now there's a reason the god of destruction is not on here, and we'll keep that to a thing. Yeah, okay. Now when this happened, so this is the next tricky bit, because this is the important. This is another hugely important bit. So, in addition, the eldest announced that they would be leaving the management of this new world and the cosmos to his creation. While they would never be far, the eldest only had a few rules, which Eraldi were charged with. Eraldin and Eraldi were charged with overseeing, with adjudicating, with upholding. All right, so these are the rules of the gods. This is what was created. I need a name. So, like, what do you call the rules of the gods? Like something, the Codus Morandi something, whatever, you know, right? Some sort of cool name. Insert cool name here. All right. Cool name needs to be there. Okay, so here are the rules. Ready? There are 7 rules, because 7 is a good number in my world. Because I love the 7 deadly sins. I love a whole bunch of stuff. All right. You may not destroy the space between the stars. The Codices Immortalis. That's a cool one. The Codicillus. The Codicillus Archnus. I like that. That kind of sounds cool. 7 deadly sins makes for a perfect Sunday. Well, it kind of does. Kind of really does. Actually, I'd say Saturday, because Sunday you still got to be ready to get to work. There are some things you shouldn't do before you got work the next day. All right, you may not destroy the space between the stars. That one's an obvious one, because it will release the abyss and the world will be destroyed. Nice and easy. Number 2, you may not create what you are not willing to destroy. This is a bid to not create immortals. You cannot create. These guys cannot create another immortal. So the guys here, the major gods, the ones that are here, these are the only ones who were created immortals. Everyone else is what's called a risen. So these are the eldest gods. Then you've got the risen gods. Risen gods are people who arose to become the caretaker of a particular thing. You may not act against your divine brothers and sisters. You may not rule in the house of your brother divine. You may not act against, well, okay, let's say, you may not act against another god. You may not act against, no, let's go with, you may not destroy a god. You may not destroy a god. You may not rule in the house of another god. Let's go with deity. You may not destroy a deity. You may not use your power to destroy a deity. You may not rule in the house of another day. See, the reason I say you may not use your power is because it'd be kind of cool if I turn myself mortal and then figured out a way to kill a deity. That's a loophole. I like that. That's a cool loophole. No other deity may take power from Eraldin or Eraldi. So no other deity may take power from Eraldin or Eraldi. So there's two loopholes here. One is that non-deities may be able to take power if they steal it. Secondly, is that Eraldin and Eraldi are capable of giving power to people. This is just to stop gods from saying, give me all the power so I can go wipe out another god, right? Basically, that's the idea. The new realm of Aulestria belongs to the life created by Azalea. The divine may no longer directly interfere with the goings on of that world. In its stead, each deity is provided their own realm to oversee. No deity, none of the divine may manifest themselves upon the material realm. All right, and that is it. Okay. So this was the Codicillus Archnus, the divine rules that all the gods needed to uphold. Naturally, the god of destruction was furious. Oh, sorry, no. Okay, before we do that, after Eraldi proclaimed the rules as set by the eldest simply ceased to be, to the tearful cries of his pantheon. Sad face. The god of destruction was furious, outcast and angry, never truly one of the chosen elder gods. He saw Azalea, as a spite against him, taking Aulestria, his freedom, and his power away in one fell swoop. The God of Destruction wanted Azalea to fail more than anything. So he broke the codicillus and materialize on Aulestria as a great beast to destroy the lives that Azalea was creating. These on Aulestria, several races had already begun to take hold. The elves, dwarves, I'm going to call them failing. I like failing. No, that's terrible. The Fae. The elves, the dwarves, the Fae. What are some other long-lived races that would be here at the beginning? No worries. Thank you for joining us, Ire. Have a wonderful night. All my love to you and your family. Let us protect our dear friend Ire as she goes to bed. And not like that I am. I tried. I'm sorry. Alright. So, what other long-lived races are there? Quick questions. Were the gods actually born, or were they created by giving them names? So, the first ones, the eldest, or the elder gods, were created by concepts. So they were created by association with these names. The new ones are risen, so they didn't. They kind of fit into a category, as it were. All right. So who else are old races? Who are long-lived races? Long-lived D&D races. Here we go. So that is the elves and the dwarves. Yeah, we know that. Anything else? Yeah, we've got dwarves. Fantasy races. Anything else? I mean, it can't just be the elves, the dwarves, and the fairies, right? Dragons, of course. Dragons. Fairies, dragons. I think that's really it, right? Giants. Yeah, okay, let's go with the giants. Giants are a good one. Giants. That's a good one. I like that one. Giants is a great one. Actually, instead of the Giants, let's go with the Cyclops specifically. So there are giants. But I think maybe the Cyclopses, because they, like sort of see the future and stuff like that. So I think that would be kind of like why we'd have Cyclopses but not giants. But you'll see why we'll have giants later on. So there's the Fae halflings. No, halflings are basically like the humans, same as humans. Any aquatic races? So the merfolk, maybe. Fae dryads. That's a good one. Dryads. Yeah. Look, I think that's enough. So on Aulestria, several races already begun to take hold. The elves, the dwarves, the fae, the dragon, the cyclops, and the dryad. Let's also add the merfolk. I think that's a good one. Merfolk, dragons, cyclopses, and dryads. Okay. Suddenly, the world was in peril. A beast the size of a mountain began to rampage across Aulestria, across the world. Its endless hunger for death and destruction gave birth to its name, the Tarrasque. The god of destruction believed that the eldest was a toothless god, was making hollow threats. But as his new name slowly began to... No, sorry. As his new name was created by the people and kingdoms of Aulestria, his own name faded and eventually disappeared entirely. Along with it, the god of destruction's personality and sense of self, transforming his entire being into the destructive monster he had taken the form of. Banding together, the races of Aulestria rose up and managed to defeat the Tarrasque. But unable to kill him permanently, they instead tore apart his corporeal form and split it across the realm, creating vast dungeons to protect and dissuade anyone from trying to reassemble the pieces. Alright, and that is the fall of the Tarask. Now, in my world, the true naming is super important. True naming is like kind of one of the major forms of magic. It is actually forbidden in a lot of ways from place to place. Now, the cool thing here is that that by having this god who went down to Aulestria and rampaged, and the people banded together and renamed this creature. So much so that they forgot their entire name and no longer were they the god of destruction. That is kind of what I was keen on. Like, I like the idea that his name was removed and he became just this mindless monstrosity. The Pantheon wept for the loss of one of their own. But knew that that his fall was of his own doing. As the Pantheon mourned, a new entity came into being. The first of what would be named the Risen. A creature of the Fae was confronted by Iraldin Iraldi that proposed a cycle of life and death with the removal of the god of destruction. The god of death would hold responsibility of shepherding those who died into the afterlife and ensuring that with the loss of the god of destruction, the goddess of life, that Azalea's power doesn't grow unabated or unchecked. Yeah. So basically, at this point here, the thing is, the god of destruction was destroying everything. So they created the god of life. The god of life and the god of destruction was supposed to balance each other out. But with the god of destruction now gone, they were basically like, well, now the goddess of life is going to keep going. So Iraldin and Iraldi went to a Fae and went, hey, you, how would you like to be death? And that is going to be the birth of our death god. So I guess the next question is where do we put our death god? Neutral evil, neutral good. So basically we've got lawful good, lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. Now I think that they fit into none of these categories. So I'm going to add them as a lesser god. Because we can have as many lesser gods as we want, right? So, goddess of death. All right, so let's add a new folder, lesser gods. And let's move that just down here to our draft section. Okay. Evil is all open, yes. Will we ever add someone to the evil? Yes, we're going to add them. We'll add them right now. Okay, so Nibera. Nibera was the god of... So let's just check out gods real quick. So we've got that. God Ginera as well. Okay. So, lesser gods. I should probably move this as well. Yep. All right. So, goddess of death is Nibera. All right. I don't need that here. You can go there. You can go there too. All right. So, this brings us to our god of death, neutral god, titan of death. No. Goddess of death. The Pale Rider, keeper of the Anamia Hourglass. Domains death, repose, fate, and charm. Alignment is neutral. Symbol is a coffin. Weapon is a coffin-shaped warhammer. Personality treats death as a time for peace and celebration, where the weight of your life can be accounted for a true reward. Views the undead as lost sheep. Church, chapels, cathedrals, graveyards, etc. Relationship. Azalea is her mother. No. So we're going to change that one. The first of the Risen. She was once a type of Fae, though the specific type was lost to the ages. No, let's go with she was a type of Fae, known as a bone fairy. Her kind were tasked with collecting and disposing of bones after death. Since then, she was offered the task of being the god of death, goddess of death, by Iraldi, and sees them as a father figure. Alright, so there we go. Done. We'll remove that. Alright, so that's kind of cool. I like the idea of... I kind of want to be a barbarian zealot of Nibera because the giant coffin slate warhammer. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I also like the idea of the warhammer because it's a lot like, I mean, the scythe was an obvious one, but I think I came up with, like, you know, the idea of like something just, it's like the burden of guilt was part of it, and there's like chains attached to the coffin and things like that. Yeah, lots of stuff that kind of fits into that category. All right. So Nibera, goddess of guilt. Okay, cool. Iberia. Iberia of the Bone Fairy clan was confronted by life and death. Doesn't go unchecked. She accepted the role and was granted divinity. Alright, so now there is a god of death. Okay. Which takes us to what age after the fall? Titans don't get put to sleep, so that doesn't happen. The age of ascension. I love that. All right. All right, the age of ascension. All right, so before we get too far ahead, so right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gods. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 unclaimed spots here. So I guess my big question is, what do we place in these spots? So with the rise of civilization, so too came the ideas of the god of justice, god of freedom, god of madness, god of sin, god of assassins. So these are lesser gods. God of art, god of disease, god of bad luck, god of beauty. What else did I had? God of evil, Artrax the Defiler. Sepharella, goddess of nobility and community. Innovation. God of mischief. God of protection. Avarice. Avarice is in the under Argoth, the god of the sin, god of sinfulness. So he's in there. All right. So Bastille, Roanoke. So these are the guys that came up next. We are looking for gods of lawful good, lawful evil, chaotic evil, neutral evil. Yep. So I think chaotic evil. Okay. I think the god of war needs to be neutral evil. So this is Bastille. And the god of righteousness. Which is Roanoke, is the god of protection. God of community and protection. It'd be interesting to see a god of freedom being chaotic evil. Follow your impulses. Well, that is actually... You know what? Yeah, okay. So let's go with... Well, because here's the thing. If we have... Because these are the major gods. If we have the major god be the god of, freedom and stuff like that, well, where does that really put the truly evil god? You know what I mean? Like the god of evil. I have questions. They're probably completely inappropriately timed. Ask the questions. I can't guarantee I'll answer, but you may. I never hesitate to ask people to ask. Is war actually evil? That's saying war is the mother of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention. So I would not say that war is necessarily evil. I would say that war is never good. That is what I would say. Because for me, whenever I look at an alignment, I don't just look at the alignment that it is. I look at the surrounding alignments, because traditionally you can actually have people play clerics of a god as long as you remain within one step of it. So basically, could I make a lawful good person who worships war? Well, no, because that person, as part of their doctrine, has to seek out conflict. You can obviously try to be the good hand in those conflicts, but by the nature of you seeking these out, at best, I would say that would make you neutral, because you would be solving your conflict with violence. You know, it's like, you there, stop doing slavery. I'm going to fight you until you remove slavery. Great cause, but you've started a fight. People are going to suffer. People are going to get injured. People are going to, be wounded, etc., etc., etc. That's the nature of it. So it's a good thing using a bad method to do it, which results in a neutral view. So that's why God of War is neutral evil for me, because it's also not lawful evil. For me is like, it has to be done this way. Chaotic evil is just chaos, right? Neutral evil is not something it's driving to. It's something that's just part of their nature, right? It's like the scorpion and the frog story. Like, I don't view war as something that is trying to be evil. Like, torturing prisoners is not common practice in war. It would definitely be something that, for me, would fall under chaotic evil. Like, I'm going to torture you and get information out of you. Like, sure, you can do that, but that's not what war is. You could have war be like, the whole, like, this is proper gentlemanly combat. This is what we need to do. Yes, people get shot and people lose arms and stuff like that all the time. We'll send countless people to their deaths because it's a glorious battle, right? Lawful evil, right? But true war, the war of, as you say, necessity, for me is neutral. It's neither lawful nor chaotic. It's necessary. It's just a part of what it is. And that's kind of where I vibe it. So that's why I've gone with neutral evil for that one. Okay. How do you come up with names? Because that's probably one of the hardest things for me. Look, I use a name generator for one, and number two is I usually, for me, I either just say words until I get bored of them, or I say them until they attach to things. And sometimes I'll just think about the first letter and what a first letter I haven't heard in a while might be. So I think that's how I came up with Gidnera. I was like, I haven't heard a G in a while. Like, what's a good god who starts with G? I couldn't think of anything, so I was like, yeah, Gidnera. Landau, I was thinking Lathander. It's like, cool, Lathander's the god of light and Forgotten Realms. So Landau, starting with an L in this was like, it's a good chance to kind of put something there and sort of, like have it like be diametrically different. Crazy idea. Lawful evil deities, one for law and lawyers. That's mean. I like lawyers and stuff like that. They're okay. They're okay people. Okay. Artrax the Defiler was the god of conquerors and evil and darkness in my world. So he could be there, and then Oberon is the god of mischief. So I mean, we could always flip that way. So I could look at like the god of conquerors and the god of trickery. I mean, what do you think? Does that kind of work? So this world building, is it for a home game? Home game. Also, yeah. Well, I mean, I should really put these on Patreon, to be honest. GM Workshop. I just don't. I'm really awful. Oberon, god of trickery. All right, something that helps me sometimes behind the names. Oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. Behindthenames.com. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's have a quick look here, because we've got stuff for some of these gods. I feel you, man. One team, all the work. Yeah, dude. Like that just happens all the time. It really does. Okay, here we go. So Bastille, which I like. All right, so we're gonna rewrite the history. So we're gonna get rid of those. Bastille, god of war, weapon of the divine, domains of war, strength, glory, chaos. He is neutral evil. Favored weapon, hammer axe, polearm. He's quick tempered, easy to provoke. Barracks as war zones, yada yada yada. Younger brother to Roa. What's his name? What did I call him? Ronak. God of protection, who is the only god he does not resent. Okay, cool. I like that. Done. So that is Bastille. Then Ronak. Come on now. Obey me. There we go. Copy that. Alright, Ronak. God of protection, bringer of peace, guardian of the Bastille. Protection, community, law, liberation. He is lawful good. Favored weapon is a shield. Balance scales upon its face. Gentle, peace-loving person. Acts as a diplomat. Yada, yada, yada. Beautiful. I will come back to that when I change its history. Alright. Aratrax, the Defiler. God of evil, darkness, father of sin, domains, evil, dark charm, lawful evil. Yep, we left that. Gauntlet spikes, yada yada yada, evil churches. Yep, we'll flesh out and develop these guys a little bit more further down the track. And then Oberon, god of mischief. Okay. God of mischief, the ever-changing trickster, holder of the eyes of Volum, trickery, yada yada yada. Chaotic neutral, size-changing chakrams, always wears a Justice mask. Yeah, that's cool. All right, sweet. So here we go. So now we're going to the Age of Ascension. So, with the Age of Ascension, we're looking at the other people who influenced here. So we need Roanoke, Atrax, Bastille. Okay, so the Great Dragon War. Birth of Bastille and Roanoke. Birth of Atrax, Bastille, and Roanoke. Yep. Okay, so actually this gives me a whole new thing. Okay. So things are gonna flood out in a second. Please throw some comments out there. Let me know what you think, because I'm not gonna repeat it because we've gone over time. But I want you guys to to chime in. So chime in as I'm writing. All right. So here we go. So with the death of the god of destruction, the god of knowledge and magic went and found a fae and said, "Hey, you're a bone fairy. You collect the bones of the dead and you remove them. You take part in cleaning and shepherding this world in the wake of destruction and death. How would you like to be the god of death?" Nibera, who was the bone fairy, said, "Yes, of course, I will fulfill this role. I will use my fairies to do the same thing as well," which then the fairies were then, the bone fairies basically became the Shinigami, or the Grim Reapers, as it were, the Reaper clan. Okay. And the bone fairies became known as Reapers. Done. Now, before Iraldin and Iraldi, who are the god of knowledge, left the scene of the Ascension, So how did he appear? So that's those things. As the Pantheon he did the first. The Pantheon wept for the loss of one of their own, but knew in their hearts that his fall was of his own doing. As the Pantheon mourned, Iraldin, Iraldi understood that a new deity was needed in order to fill the vacuum left behind by the death of the god of destruction. Reaching out to Aulestria, they spoke with one of the Fey creatures, a bone fairy named Niberia. She was offered to be the first of the risen pantheon, a mortal who would be a god. The bone fairies had a long history with death, feeding on the bones of the fallen and playing a vital role in the cycle of life and death. Nibiru humbly accepted, but asked if she might share her power with the Bone Fairy clan. Iraldin and Iraldi explained that she answered to no one in the matters of her domain, and she was welcome to do as she wishes. Thus, the god of death, the goddess of death, was born and would hold responsibility of shepherding those who died into the afterlife and ensuring that with the loss of the god of destruction, Azalea's power doesn't grow unchecked. The Bone Fairy clan was also removed from history at this point, as they became what would be known as Reapers. As Grim Reapers. Before Iraldin Iraldi was able to disconnect his voice from the material realm, another spoke from within the Feywilds. Another mortal, a fairy, claimed that power. Okay, so this bit here, this is what I'm looking at. I want this to be the birth of Oberon the god. So in my world, Oberon is the god of trickery. So what I want him to do here is I want him to trick Iraldin and Iraldi out of the power of the gods. That's where I'm living. That's where I'm at the moment. So Iraldin and Iraldi, the gods who decide, like, hey, you're god worthy, here, have some magic, have started talking through magic, you know, because they can't go down to the material plane, have started talking through magic to this bone fairy. Bone fairy has ascended, and Oberon has been watching, and he has gone, oh my god, I need some of that. Now, what should he do? What could he say? How could he trick the very clinical, very, very curt Iraldin and Iraldi into giving him power? What happens here? That's the next bit. Not sure how much longer I'll be on, but have a nice day and night if I don't return for the end stream. No worries. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Bandicoot, I hope that whatever you are doing, you are having a wonderful time doing it, my dude. Let us protect our dear friend. Oh my god, what is with my rolls? And plus, that's a massive lurk. I don't even know if I can make that. I'm going to try it again just because I want to see if I can do it. Yep, McBluff is just like me. We are terrible at protecting people. Come on, one more time. No, I'm getting worse. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna leave that be. Alright, last one. What trickery, what chicanery, what thing does this person say? Man, okay. What does he say? The group has just lost the god of destruction. He is the god of trickery, luck, charm, and celebration. Newbie goddess just came in, and the law we're making is someone needs a bone fairy saying, I need some of that. What kind of world are we building? Nice. Okay, lurk away, Creative Garden. If we don't catch you before the end of the stream, have a wonderful day or night or whatever time it happens to be. Oh, that's much better. Look at that. That was good. All right. So, Newbie Goddess, what we're doing is we're creating... Okay, so, long story short, the god of destruction has died. The god of knowledge and magic has gone down, has basically, sort of whispered to one of the mortals and said, hey, you, mortal, you're a bone fairy. You eat bones and you do all this stuff with the dead. How would you like to be the person who manages the dead? We need someone to balance out the god of life. How would you like to be the god of death? So Nibera, as her name is, said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. So she goes off and she does this. But before the god who is distributing this power has left, no, that's okay. So before the god who has been distributing this divine power has left, Oberon is going to do or say something that is going to trick Iraldin and Iraldi into turning him into the god of mischief. But I need to figure out what he does. That's a tricky one. How does Oberon trick the god of magic to giving him power so that he can become the god of magic? Maybe he takes it. Maybe he steals it. Maybe he steals it. Because that makes sense. If he steals the magic, then that's still... Remember when we created the Codicillus Archnos? You may not take power... No other deity may take power from Iraldi or Iraldin. But, one, he is not a deity. And two, Iraldin and Iraldi may have given something to the Bone Fairy. So what if we make that a ritual? What if it's a fruit? I mean, go with me on this. I mean, food magic and consumption magic is already a big piece. What if the first evidence of food magic is here? And so in order to gain divinity, there is a fruit of some kind that that needs to be eaten. And so maybe it appears on a tree and Nibera bites into it and eats it, but it's an apple, so she drops the core and she leaves it, and then he eats the core. I mean, what do you think of that? What do you think of this nature? He distracts them and pickpockets him. So, technically, Iraldin and Iraldi can't go to the place directly. So he can't be pickpocketed. He can't be there physically. Replace the fruit with something else. Yeah. I mean, eating something I think is good, but maybe what would you eat? You know, like what would you eat or consume? Both could work. He could ask that he be allowed to prove his ability to maintain chaos. They need a being to preside over chaos. Okay, that's an interesting one. I like that idea. But keeping in mind, I think the trickery bit is where I want this to be. I want it to be this person has taken or stolen his godhood. At the feast, granting the reaper its power, he steals the dessert. Ooh, that could be cool. I mean, Oberon replaces the powerful fruit with something else, keeping the fruit for himself. Yeah, I mean, okay, all right. Maybe. That could be cool. So he doesn't trick. So he doesn't trick Iraldin, he tricks Nibera. Interesting. Oh my god, that works so well, because then we can say that's why it's called cheating death. Oh, that's so brilliant. I love it. And that could explain why Fae and fairies no longer suffer from death by old age, because they cheated death. Oberon, the king of the fairies, cheated death on behalf of it. That could be really cool. Okay, I got it. Okay, so let's move this away for the time being, so we don't need that. So, okay, so, all right, Iraldin, Iraldi, grew from a nearby tree. Grew a golden peach. Peach? What's a good fruit? God fruits. Fruits of the gods. Permission? Is that what it's called? Pomegranate. No, pomegranates have another place in my world. They do indeed. So it has to be a persimmon. Yeah, it has to be a persimmon. They are from a genius called Diospyros. Persimmon. Well, we don't have them, okay? The Fuyu and Hachia. Fuyu persimmon is round and squat, tough when peeled. What are their tastes, though? Well, I mean, let's start with that. Do we want it to be a persimmon, or do we want it to be something else? What does it taste like? Will taste sweet, mild, and rich. Many have described the flavor as honey-like. Its texture is similar to that of an apricot, and skin slightly tougher than an apple's. Oh, that's perfect description. They numb your mouth. They cause a fuzzy, dry mouth feeling due to the proanthocyanins, commonly known as tannins, that exist in the unripened fruit. They are astringent, so if you take a bite of an unripe one, your mouth will feel very dry. You accidentally added the E. Well, see, there you had me correcting myself. Persimmon is not a fruit you hear all that often about. It's not from areas it grows wild. So I think that's a cool thing. Soft honey, yeah. Okay, maybe this is where I need to be. Maybe that's definitely what I'm looking at. Okay, so grew a golden persimmon from a nearby tree, and explained taking a bite would grant her divine power. But, so here's the important bit. But watching the exchange was another Fae, Oberon, king of the Fae, was another Oberon, king of the Fae, who saw an opportunity disguising himself as a snake. He slithered up the tree, and when Nibira went to claim her persimmon, he bit her hand and flooded her with a deadly poison. As she was dying, Oberon... Snake is too biblical? Okay, let's change this from a snake then. I don't like biblical. Not that I don't like the Bible. I just don't like things being too closely referred to it. I just like snakes. That's it. I love snakes. I'm Australian. But you make a good point. Let's see. Oberon turns into a spider. What are the venomous creatures? Venomous creatures that aren't snakes. I think snakes are adorable. Blue-ringed octopus. Well, you have Taipans, fauna whales, Komodo dragon. Let's see. Most venomous animals in the world. Turns into a mad lad. An Eshe. Ooh. Alright. Let's see. What is... So number one is the Australian box jellyfish. Probably a bit difficult to have a box jellyfish climb a tree. I need to go to number one. Where's number one? Down the bottom. Who does that? Taipan? Nah. Blue-ringed octopus. Another jellyfish. Connor seashell. Nope. Another snake. Another snake. Another snake. Funnel web spider. Red scorpion. Scorpion. Lots of snakes. Lots of scorpions. Stonefish. Spiders, lionfish. Snakes, stingrays. Oh, there's actually a blue spotted stingray. Huh. Wow, that's kind of cool. I didn't even realize that was it. Mexican bearded lizard. Duck-billed platypus. Gila monster. Interesting. Snail. Scorpion. Best explanation for why a person loves snakes has to be I'm Australian. Yeah, I think... you know what? Look, it's not that... I don't think I've met a single Australian, right, that just outrightly hates snakes. I know that there are people who are afraid of snakes, but it's not like they wish them any particular harm. Like, they'd much rather call animal control than, you know, like, take out a gun and start shooting at snakes, right? There are definitely people who are afraid of snakes, but I don't think I've met a single Aussie who's, like, just been like, oh my god, no, snakes are gross and disgusting and they should all die, and, you know, like, no, it's like, no, they should be over there and I should be over here. Could it be some other reptile besides a snake, or is a reptile too biblical? I think, okay, maybe it's just the idea. Maybe it's just the idea. Let's move past that. Let's just burn that idea. Who saw an opportunity? Oberon. Oberon appeared in the tree, snatching the persimmon before Nibera could eat it. He taunted her, pretending to take a bite, but stopped as Nibera begged him to pleaded no, come on. It's gotta be another way to say it. He taunted her, pretending to take a bite. Taunting her. And claiming that he would eat it for himself and become a member of the divine. Nibiria ooh, that's a good one. I like that one. All right. Well, what I like a coyote. I like the coyote. What if as Nibera was about to eat the persimmon, Oberon, disguised as a coyote, don't know how to spell coyote, trickster animals, coyote, raven, crow, blue jay, rabbit, spider, raccoon, bear, maybe a crow, disguised as an injured crow. Your painter figurine makes me think of Quieres, the Quieres meat. I'm going to have a look at that. Nice. Amazing. Also, hi Shad, how you doing? Let's see. Oberon took on the appearance of Navira's clan member. All right, what if he took the disguise as an injured crow? The Oberon disguised as an injured crow, landed nearby, bloodied and wounded. As a crow landed nearby, bloody and wounded. She saw pity on the creature, as crows have always had a close personal relationship with the bone fairies. And heeding Iraldin's words of and heeding Iraldin's words, decided to share her persimmon with the wounded creature in hopes of adopting it as her companion. But by feeding the crow, Oberon greedily snatched. No. By feeding the crow, Oberon became one of the divine. And without a god of death, used his power to divert the river Styx away from the Feywilds, making the Fey immune to the effects of aging. Nibera ate the rest of the fruit, but the damage had been done, and she was no longer able to act against Oberon as per the code, whatever we called it, as per the Codicillus Archnos. You may not rule in the house of another deity. She was unable to connect the river Styx to. She was unable to connect the river Styx. However, Iraldi reappearing could not allow for there to be two gods of death. So instead, he offered Oberon a deal to instead take on the mantle of the god of trickery and allow his brand of chaos to ensure that Aulestria continues to grow through strife and conflict, as well as joy. No, that's terrible. Stop that. Blah, 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 Michael. Shut up. I don't even need that. To instead take on the mantle of the god of trickery. Done. Oberon accepted. Oberon graciously accepted. Okay, there we go. Cool. All right, there we go. Done. Ah, how did that look? I think that's okay. I mean, what do you guys think? Did that work well? Coyote's the trickster in many Native American stories, sometimes good, sometimes bad, depending on the tribe, but always the trickster. I know Newbie, but he's my totem. I have to protect him. Ha. Favorite in stories. Mine too, but I always tell the First Nations wise woman he's my totem. Yeah, nice. He also associated with being the father of all men. Well, yeah, so Creative Garden was right with the coyotes being scavengers and it being involved with death. I think that's why the crows kind of sit with me, because I like the idea that the crows, that's what he used, like he transformed into a crow and stole the fruit. That's really cool. I love that idea. So, which brings us to, let's see, where are we looking at for age? So, the Great Dragon War, the Age of Monsters, the Dawn of Dusk. the Age of Heroes, which will change, you know, in time. All right. So the next thing is the Great Dragon War, which we'll go to another day because we're well and truly almost an hour over time. Because we were on a roll. We were definitely on a roll there. But what we'll do here is we're going to put down Oberon tricks the dragons into starting a war. Bastille is created, but the death toll is too great. Roanoke leads the armies to protect everyone. Arthrax is created by... Arthrax is a dragon whose depravity ascends him to the role of conqueror. All right, so there we go. So that's where these gods get built in next time. Ah, of course he stops when I jump back in. Oh, hi Mal. Okay. So we're gonna do. So before we leave, we're gonna do a quick review of everything that we've done, in terms of the major gods. But I feel like we have, for the most part, all of them down pat, which I like. I definitely like this more than what I originally had, because originally we had 14 gods for the major gods. We now have 9 with a kind of attenuative 10, and then we've made Oberon the elder, the greater god, which is really cool because, and now it's explained because he ate the persimmon first, right? So that's why the god of death became a lesser god instead of a major god, not because of anything more than Oberon stole the seat from her, or stole a seat from her. And that's kind of cool. All right, so here we go. So if Oberon cheated death, do trickery and grave domain clerics have a beef? I'd say yes, but at the same time, you know, I'd say that it's kind of like a bygones be bygones type thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'd say that, you know, like, yeah, I mean, the god of death has better things to deal with. So there we go. That's kind of it. All right, so let's go with the story. So here is, I'm gonna very, very briefly go through this. So anyone in chat, if you have any questions, write question and then add your question there, just so that I can see it. If you have any feedback, throw them in there, and I'm gonna read them at the very, very end. Okay, but I'm not gonna stop from start to finish because I have so much to do, and it's like 10 minutes left before we hit the 3-hour mark instead of 2. All right, here we go. In the beginning, there was the abyss, an endless darkness from which creatures from beyond lurked in the darkness, devouring all. It was called the Nameless Horde. There we go. It was called the Nameless Horde. Boom. The Eldest, which is the name of our GM character in this god world, the Eldest grew tired of the endless nothing and used their vast power of creation to birth the cosmos, starting with Reynova and Landau, the god of light and dark. The two became the first of the great pantheon. The Eldest looked at their children with love and wished upon them the gift of wisdom, knowledge, and magic, and into their care they created Iraldin and Iraldi, the god of magic, knowledge, and time, who would recall all knowledge in the cosmos and would be able to give portions of the Eldest's power to those who were deemed worthy by his children. This was through the means of a golden persimmon, which I will add here. The Rise of the Titans. The Nameless Horde. The Nameless Horde were unhappy with the arrival of the Pantheon and sought their destruction. They rampaged through the skies, and their destructive forces began to manifest as creatures made of elemental energy known as the Titans. The Eldest used a great portion of his powers to invoke to create a goddess Capable of taming the Titans, this would become Gidnera. Gidnera would become to create the most powerful of their divine creations. Capable of taming the Titans. This would be Gidnera. Gidnera was a warrior woman, and over the course of what would be a century of battle, the Titans were tamed and put into stasis in prisons of their own making. These prisons would later be referred to as the Elemental Planes. During the war against the Titans, the first god to be born without the power of the eldest was created. Their name would eventually be lost to even history itself, but this was the tragic beginnings of the god of destruction. Iraldin and Iraldi were the first to notice this new god, divine, and gave the god of destruction to Reynova and Landau, who saw the young god as an opportunity to start a real family. Gidnera, wishing to lay her weapon down and become a doting aunt to the new god, asked for the eldest blessing to create a solar system on which a safe haven could be created for the new god to exercise their power. With their blessing granted, thus was born the world of Aulestria. Gidnera, using the elements created Aulestria, using the elements of the Titans, created Aulestria for the god of destruction. And for a time, as he grew his powers, as he grew his power to destroy what was being created, soon drew concern from Iraldin and Iraldi. In what would be the final conversation between the Pantheon and the Eldest, it was decided that the strength of this new god of destruction needed to be kept in check, and for the last of the elder gods, Okay. The eldest announced that he would be leaving the management of this new world and the cosmos to his creations. While they would never be far, the eldest would only have a few rules which Iraldin and Iraldi were charged with upholding. The Codicillus Archnos. 1. You may not destroy the space between the stars. 2. You may not create what you are not willing to destroy. 3. You may not use your powers to destroy a deity. 4. You may not rule in the house of another deity. 5. No other deity may take power from Iraldin or Iraldi. 6. The new realm of Aulestria belongs to the life created by my new divine child. By my new deity, Azalea. As such, the divine may no longer directly interfere with the going-ons in the world. In its stead, each of the divine are provided their own realm to oversee. And lastly, none of the divine may manifest themselves upon the material realm. After Iraldin and Iraldine proclaimed these rules set by the eldest ceased to be, to the tearful cries of his pantheon, of their pantheon. The god of destruction was furious, outcast, and angry. Never truly one of the chosen elder gods, he saw Aulestria as a spite against him. He now saw Aulestria. Taking Aulestria, his freedom and power away in one fell swoop. The god of destruction wanted Azalea to fail more than anything. So, he broke the codicillus and materialized on Aulestria. as a great beast to destroy the lives that Azalea was creating. On Aulestria had several races which had already begun to take hold. The elves, dwarves, fae, merfolk, dragons, cyclopses, and dryads. But now the world was in peril. A beast the size of a mountain began to rampage across the world. Its endless hunger for death and destruction gave birth to its name, the Tarask. The god of destruction believed that the eldest was making hollow threats, but as his new name was created by the people and kingdoms of Aulestria, his own name faded and eventually disappeared entirely. Along with it, the god of destruction's personality and sense of self, transforming his entire being into the destruction the monster he had created, the monster he had taken the form of. Banding together, the races of Aulestria managed to defeat the Tarask, but unable to kill him permanently, they instead tore apart his corporeal form and split it across the realm, creating vast dungeons to protect and dissuade those that might foolishly try to reassemble the pieces. The way it's written sounds like the eldest ceased to be early on. Like when he created Gidnera, I think he became weaker at that point. So he wasn't gone. He was just too weak to really do much else. Except, fade away. So I think that was kind of like my moment of aging, I think. All right, sorry. I said I wasn't going to stop. Let's keep going. Okay. Age of Ascension. The Pantheon wept for the loss of one of their own. Wept for the loss of the Tarask. But knew in their hearts that his fall was his own doing. As the Pantheon mourned, Iraldin and Iraldi understood that a new deity was needed in order to fill the vacuum left behind by the death of the god of destruction. Reaching out to Aulestria, they spoke with one of the Fey creatures, a bone fairy named Niberia. She was offered to be the first of the risen Pantheon, mortals who would become divine. The bone fairies had a long history with death, feeding upon the bones of the fallen and playing a vital role in the cycle of life and death. Niberia humbly accepted, but asked if she might share her power with the Bone Fairy clan. Iraldin and Iraldi explained that she answered to no one in matters of her domain, and that she was welcome to do as she wished. This is just a nod to the Bone Fairies becoming Grim Reapers. Iraldin and Iraldi grew a golden persimmon from a nearby tree and explained that taking a bite would grant her divine power. But watching the exchange was another, Oberon, king of the Fae, who saw an opportunity. As Niberia was about to eat the persimmon, Oberon, disguised as a crow, landed nearby, bloodied and wounded. She saw pity on the creature, as crows had always had a close personal relationship with bone fairies, and heeding Iraldin's words, decided to share the persimmon with the wounded creature in hopes of adopting it as a companion. I don't need to add that. She decided to share her persimmon with the wounded creature in hopes of adopting it as a companion. But, feeding the crow, Oberon became one of the divine... became the first risen. The first of the risen Pantheon. And without a god of death in place, he used his newfound power to divert the river Styx from the Fey wilds, making the Fey immune to the effects of aging, of death and aging. Of death. Yeah, nice. Niberia ate the rest of the fruit, but the damage had been done, and she was no longer able to act against Oberon as per the Codicillus Archnos. She was unable to reconnect the river Styx. She would be forever unable to reconnect the river Styx. However, Eraldin and Eraldi reappearing. Eraldi could not allow for there to be two gods of death. So instead he offered Oberon a deal, to instead take on the mantle of the god of trickery. Oberon graciously accepted and began making moves to change the face of Aulestria. Alright, so that is what we've written today. That is what we've come up with, which I think is phenomenal. I think that's an amazing set. We then go into the Great Dragon War, which is one of our major events. We then have the Age of Monsters, the Dawn of Dusk, and some other places here, which we're just going to put down here just so we have them for later. So the Dragon War is basically where the dragons basically just do this massive fight. They battle each other and the other races. This is actually where humans are created as well. I'd read that as a book. Thank you. I'm glad. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I mean, inevitably, I want to write this as a campaign setting, with just a bunch of really cool lore and some homebrew stuff. Even like things like traces of golden persimmons that are found everywhere are going to be like homebrew artifacts in my world. So like finding the golden. So obviously, as you know, the food element of my world is very important. So there's like the heavenly recipe where you eat this meal and you will arise to godhood, and part of that is obviously the getting a golden persimmon and actually turning it into a meal. That is how you would ascend to it, which I think is kind of cool. So yeah, Dragon War, dragons fight, dragons end up leaving the world, so there are actually no dragons in my setting. Well, no known dragons in my setting. Age of Monsters is where the Tarrasque's bones and blood and all the things that were ripped apart from them start to infect the lands and create monsters, which is why traditionally monsters are evil unabatedly. The Dawn of the Dusk. Now, this is where the races started naming stuff, and we start to see some more sentient monsters showing up. So the orcs, which were originally non-sentient, so they were originally just kind of big brutes. They had no language, they had no structure. They were just they actually copied people. So the god of war basically taught them how to use weapons, and that's all they were. Imagine a gorilla who's been taught how to use a great axe. That's all they really were. But when humans started experimenting and playing around with things like true names, that's what gave birth to the orcs that we know now, which is ones that have a very robust culture, ones that aren't necessarily going to be evil. And that's where all the monsters come from. The Dawn of the Dusk, so the Drow, the Duergar, all of the dark races, as it were, they don't exist in my world. But in the same way that giving names ended the age of monsters and, started a different age, people also started learning that you could take names away from people. And that's what created the Dusk. So the Dusk could be any race, doesn't matter what they are. So there's no Drow. Drow is the colloquialism for the Dusk of the elves. The Duergar is the colloquialisms for the Dusk of the dwarves. But they're a Dusk of every race. Now the Dusk aren't black. They just have literally the color drained out of them. So some of them are pure white. Some of them are gray and monochrome. And the reason for this is magic has basically been ripped out of them. They have no magic whatsoever, and in fact, they are very contagious. So no matter where they are, everywhere around them, magic tries to fill that void, but disappears instead. So, they live in an anti-magic kingdom, which is massive technology and stuff like that, and they've been banished to an island so that they don't infect the rest of the world and remove magic from my world. It's very cool. It's a whole thing there. But that's the Dawn of the Dusk, which is where they create their own kingdom, and people are now trying to keep them at bay. And then we go into the Age of Heroes, which is the nowadays era, where heroes are basically made. there are a whole bunch of different schools and places that have cropped up where people are learning how to become heroes and how to go out into the wild reaches, explore, and kind of, help out where people can. So that's the age we're in now, the age of heroes. So, yeah, that's it. What the next stage is, I don't know, but yeah, I've gone through all that. It's neat and creative. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. All right. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this lovely little hangout session. You guys are always very inspiring, and I'm much happier, much happier with the results of what we have now. So thank you for helping me chew through that. I greatly appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I've been Michael. I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer. You can find me here for the rest of the week. Let's see. I am on here. No, I've got a game on Thursday. No, yeah, I'm here tonight for Curse of Strahd. So that is in 9 hours from now. I'll be here for Curse of Strahd. Then tomorrow I will be on Infinite Black playing the final episode of what's it called? Vast Grim. Then I will be on Saturday morning for Strange Aeons, Friday morning for Ruby Phoenix, and Sunday, nothing. I think that's it. And then we're on break. We'll be on break, which basically means if you want to contact me, hit me up on Discord if you want to hang out. I'll be there a lot more often just over the break. So, yeah, go and check it out. There's also a wonderful group of people there who love to hang out and meet people and do cool things. But, yeah. Are you modding that? Yeah. I mean, I've seen you every week. Yeah. But yeah, there it is. All right, let's go and raid the folks over at Careful Cantrip. These are wonderful friends of ours who do live streaming. We love them dearly. They are awesome and creative role players. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for hanging out. Whatever time of day it happens to be, please enjoy the rest of it. Until we meet again, as always, from me to you, game hard or die trying. Good night, folks. Bye.